Let's talk about small caps. And I was looking at some interesting data, and I was looking at the year-to-date 2025. It's been a rough year for the market as a whole, but particularly for small cap actively managed funds. And as of Friday, and this would have changed, of course, with Monday's drop in the broader markets, but as of Friday, you had only 2 schemes, actively managed small cap schemes, that had positive returns. One of them had, the top gaining scheme had 3% positive returns. And that could have changed over the course of the last couple of days. The point is that you had most small cap schemes that had lost money, but interestingly, 21 of those schemes had actually beaten the benchmark, which is to say that you've fallen less than the benchmark. At least there's something, right? Kshitiz Mahajan, Managing Partner and Chief Executive Officer of Complete Circle Wealth Solutions, joining me now. Kshitiz, thanks so much for taking the time. I think this is the reason why a lot of people are saying, well, your benchmark, Nifty 50 may be at all-time highs, but my portfolio is doing nothing. Would you agree?
Alex, good afternoon. That's markets for you. And that's why we keep on saying that, past performance is just an indication. You should not, depend on that performance. But yes, we have seen very, I must say, abnormal returns in 2020, 21, 22, 23 in small and mid-cap space. We have seen funds doubling in 3 years' time. Some funds delivering as high as 60, 70% returns also. So yes, and as I say, life is a full circle. You have to come from where you started, and that's how there have been years where markets, don't deliver as you expect. Had it been every year you're getting 15-20% return in capital markets, then people will stop participating in FD and start deploying in everything in equity markets. I think that is something which we have to learn, that all these various allocation and various sectors, categories go through our different cycles, and this is a time when we have seen a brutal beating on small and mid-cap space. I think I must say that now the froth is left, most part of it's done. Let's see how things will shape up. I think we have seen some recovery today. Let's hope it'll come soon.
Yeah, we did see a significant recovery in the broader markets, you're right. Now, what if, Kshitiz, you've seen, and I'm not suggesting that investors should make decisions based on what has happened over 1 year. And we're not even talking about 1 year. We're effectively talking about what happened over 11 months and 10 days, right? Or thereabouts, give or take. But you have something like an LIC mutual fund, small cap fund, which has lost 15% as of Friday. You have Tata Small Cap Fund down about 13%, HSBC Small Cap Fund down about 12%, Kotak Small Cap Fund, which is down about 9%, and that compares with the index, which is down about 5% or 6% or thereabouts, right? So the question is, if you've got an underperforming fund over this period, should you double down or should you consider shifting? What should you do?
I think right now, Alex, one should just hold their horses. There is no need to act in falling markets, and no one knows that how further these can fall. But please understand, drawdowns can be significant in small and mid-cap space. And the reason is that when you want to sell, so as a category, the rule is that 65% has to be parked minimum in a small cap fund. And above that, you can park in large cap or mid cap, or you can keep small cap depending on a fund manager conviction. So when you have markets which are falling because of one, some margin money call, some funds selling in a bigger quantity, then you don't have that type of liquidity in that space. Please understand there's a liquidity angle. And so that's why fund manager has to sell at some lower valuations when there's a redemption pressure. And when you have, some of these funds which are small size and they have holdings which are in less liquid space, then you have further drawdowns coming in these type of funds. I think the right way to tackle this situation is just hold. There is no need for you to add on to this space. But I must say that the valuations are really down from what it used to be a year and a half back. I think a staggered manner or a SIP can be started or looked at from next week onwards.
Yeah, very interesting, right, Kshitiz? Because I was going to ask you that, to say that usually when you look back, and you might just look back a year from now and say December 2025 was the best time to start accumulating small caps because they've gone through that time-wise and price correction, and things took off after that. So the question to you is, if you have sat on the sidelines where you saw significant erosion and you paused your SIP or you stopped your incremental investments, should you restart them? And how should you allocate it, right? Because you have had large cap oriented funds doing better over the course of 2025 so far, but you've seen quite a lot of fluctuation. So till March, you had a significant erosion in broader markets, but then March onwards, for a couple of months, you saw that rebound. And like you're saying, once again, today you're seeing a little bit of a rebound. What should you do?
So one is that somebody who's already parked in this category and stopped the SIP, I think this is the time. First of all, you should not stop the SIP. The best use of SIP is when market is falling. You get much more units vis-a-vis what you were getting in markets for all-time high. So one, you can actually look at adding, if you have a risk appetite, small and mid cap through SIPs. If you're not having, you can add that from next week onwards. Lump sum, I will still say that maybe wait for 6-7 more transaction days, and then you can start adding through a STP route. Because as you said, maybe December, Jan, or maybe December is going to be the best month if we go 2 years ahead and then we talk about the past. Third, if you are still not that sure about that you want to take a small and mid cap allocation directly, you can please add a multi-cap fund, where the fund manager has to take 25% by default into this basket. So I think these are the ways through which one can align and start aligning their portfolios. My request to everyone, if you please align your small cap allocation with long-term goals. Why panic gets created? Because if you have some goal coming in 3 years or 4 years, and you see suddenly 15-20% of the portfolio down on small cap basket, then you see how this will recover. But if you have 7-year plus type of horizon for your goal, then chances for you to make good returns because you're taking extra risk is little high.
Yeah, interesting. The tendency, and Kshitiz, I'm only asking you this because a lot of people I know have done this as well. The data points to that as well, right? If you look at the flows into small cap funds while things were looking good, they were absolutely fantastic. And I think a lot of portfolios as a result got skewed towards small cap funds, and a lot of investors have small cap SIPs as well. So, and when you saw maybe one scheme doing better than the other, you started a SIP in the second scheme and the third scheme and the fourth scheme, and you end up having a bulk of your portfolio is primarily small cap funds. So as a result of which you've either lost a significant amount of money this year, or you've not done anything at all in your portfolio. So how should you do, or what should you do if you need to rebalance that, Kshitiz? Where you're saying maybe you have 3 or 4 or 5 small cap schemes and you might need only 2. So how do you rebalance that?
I think a perfect time to rebalance it, Alex, because obviously I'm sure there's no element of capital gain because markets have not been good for small cap for sure in the last 1.5 years. So you can actually exit a few of your holdings and further allocate it towards a flexi cap or a multi cap fund. That is one thing which you can do. Second, please, I think whenever you're parking your money, return is not only the criteria. You should go level 2 and level 3, where you should see what type of sectors, what type of stocks they are holding. And on a portfolio level, it's always should be 50, 30, 20. Normally, we take that 20% should be small cap and 30 should be mid cap. That's not how it should be. Because in large cap, flexi cap, and multi cap also you have mid and small cap exposure. So I think on a portfolio level, you should have 50, 30, 20 allocation. And if you have that allocation and 20% has relevance with regard to your long-term goal, I think you're sorted. You're sorted. I think right now what you can do is you can reduce the number of scripts in that space. You can see whatever you like the best. You can hold that for yourself and further allocate the remaining ones towards flexi cap or a multi cap category.
Okay. If I were to put you on the spot, Kshitiz, and ask you specifically, do you prefer multi-cap or allocation into small cap through multi-cap, or pure play small cap fund? What would it be?
So, I'm being honest, I've done a show with you a year back where I disclosed my portfolio, where you asked my portfolio. I told people just be aware of violations of small and mid cap. And I was clear about it. So I do my small cap and mid cap allocation directly into small and mid cap because you get rewarded because the type of risk which you take in these type of categories. And my goal for any small cap fund allocation is in excess of 10 years. So I have that type of long gestation period also wherein I can manage the volatility well. So again, if you want to cooperate, ensure that your small cap allocation goal should be aligned to allocation SIP should be aligned to your long term goal, which is 10-year plus, not 5-year plus. Because sometimes you see those type of years like 18, 19, there was no return, 18, 19, 20. Then there was year like 13, 14, there was no return in small cap. So there'll be years which will show you drawdowns or zero returns. So align your portfolio.
So let's close this conversation out with the schemes or the fund managers that you really like in the space as things stand in December 2025. And let's also bear in mind there are a couple of fund houses that are launching small cap funds as well.
I think I like the funds which have done well, and there are a lot of funds which have done well. But Axis is there, SBI is there, HDFC is there. You have Canada, which has done a decent job. Invesco is doing a decent job. I'm saying there are different type of funds in this category, but please choose one fund, stick to it, and align it with the long term.
Okay, all right. Kshitiz, thanks so much for taking the time. Pleasure speaking with you as always, and look forward to the next chat.
Thank you.
All right, so we've kind of given you a sense of how to approach your small cap allocation amidst this market volatility. Of course, the most important point to bear in mind is you have to give it enough time. Look at your small cap allocation from the perspective of 10 years, even if that seems like a lot of time, because that's when the wealth accumulation takes place. Let us know what you think and the topics that you'd like us to cover. In the meanwhile, stay tuned. This is NDTV Profit.